The news that Penn State football fans have been waiting for quite a long time. I'm Thomas Ryan Carr, Ryan Snyder, recruiting insider with us. And Ryan, you've been working long and hard, not just on this recruitment, but all of them. So I never want to take away what I think is the fun part, which is the reveal. So tell people why we're here on YouTube talking to them.
Before we start, I gotta give Sean credit on this one. Sean has been working harder on Jaylen than I have in recent months. I just want to give Sean the credit on that one. But Jaylen Harvey, guys, the day has come. Drum roll. I don't know, whatever you want to do there, but boom, he is finally officially a Nittany Lion. 6'2", 245.
As close as I got.
What in the world is that?
That's supposed to be like a crowd celebrating. The audio here is terrible. I do not have great sound effects.
I thought it was Halloween effect or something. 6'2", 245, 4-star prospect out of Quince Orchard. This was one the Penn State fans wanted for a long time. We've been talking about Jaylen Harvey. This recruitment goes back 2 years, really. He's taken, I don't know how many visits to Penn State now. I think up to almost a dozen. I think it's like 10 or 11. Of course, took that official visit back in the summer, returns then for the whiteout game. 3-4 weeks ago now. And Penn State's finally able to get it over the line. So massive credit to Deion Barnes. James Franklin played a big role in this one too. I mean, James always has his hand in almost every recruit, but especially the top guys. And this was one of those ones where he had a big impact on. So Nittany Lions get their guy, man. Six defensive linemen now in the class. He'll certainly be an edge. And they have some guys like Xavier Gilliam who could flex in either position. But expect Jaylen Harvey and Malachi Williams to start off on the edge.
So relationship never seemed to be the problem here, and I'm not asking you to go all the way deep into the stuff that we've been covering over at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com, but could you give a broad overview? We talked about this on the show earlier today on Monday, but I want to get a recap for people watching for the first time, how this recruitment kind of had its twists and turns, because it always felt like Penn State was in a great position from a relationship standpoint. They always do a great job with that, but obviously USC a part of the conversation. So what were the dynamics at play from a broad view with Harvey?
Well, from a visit perspective, man, I think he visited Penn State as much as almost every other school combined, right? So that when you see that instantly, for people like myself, Fitz, everybody who covers this, like, okay, the visits usually tell the story. And this one was close to ending back in the summer, we thought, at least. He takes his official visit the first week of June, and almost immediately after that, he puts out a tweet. It's only up for a little bit of time. I don't know, maybe, I don't even know if it was a minute. That he's going to announce in June, and then takes it down. And, even after that, I think he told myself and other reporters that he was still planning to not take any other official visits, just come to Penn State, or, just make his commitment here soon, which, off of a Penn State official visit, it looked pretty obvious. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, like 48 hours later, 72 hours later, he sets up an official visit to Florida. So goes down to Florida, then adds an official visit to USC, adds an official visit to Maryland. And, even then, I know at one point he had a July 4th commitment date. I don't remember if that was after the Florida USC visits or not. It's been so long, I can't remember exactly when he put that out. But the July 4th commitment gets scrubbed then, and then we go into September, and there was talk about him maybe making a commitment, I don't know, maybe 3-4 weeks into the season. But at that point, I think Jaylen honestly made the right decision, because he was clearly still really trying to process, like, okay, is it going to be USC? Am I going to go out there? I want to see how their defense does. And also, of course, everything Penn State's been able to do on defense. Really kind of wanted to see how those teams shaked out this year. And then, of course, focusing on his own season and things like that as well. So I thought, people – I think Jaylen kind of gets a little bit of bad rap, because there have been ups and downs with commitments and stuff. And we had someone say the other day, like, is he worth the attention? But like, Jaylen really hasn't brought that attention on himself. That yes, a couple commitment dates got scrubbed, but he's never been, someone look at me on Twitter, or, doing all these different interviews and stuff. He's kept to himself. I mean, he's a good kid. So I know there's some Penn State fans that are, oh, man, this one feels like it dragged out forever, and, he better be great and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's kind of unfair. I can point to a lot of other kids that are way worse with that stuff. Put it that way.
Right. Yeah, he's just evidenced by the fact that I have a hard time finding like good social media photos. He's not super active trying to promote himself. There's players that go out and say, "Hey, get me to 10,000 on Instagram," and blah blah blah.
Right.
He's a football player, you know, and I think that that's a very interesting perspective of just because a commitment goes longer than you expect, and we have these conversations. Obviously, you guys are getting feedback from the staff. You're getting feedback from people around him. So you are producing some of the conversation, but that doesn't mean that that's the end of the conversation. Like, he gets to have the final say however he wants. And
Sure.
it is interesting how these recruitments can kind of tarry for a while and give you a different sense of a kid, which is always what we do on the internet, right? We read things the way we want and we interpret them the way that we want instead of, you know, the context for which they actually are. I want to get to something we talked about a little bit earlier, and that is, how do you see him? A big defensive class. Defensive line has 6 players in it. Edge for sure for Jaylen Harvey to start out. That's what you said earlier. I just want to confirm, like, that's where you're thinking he's going, and that's what they need out of him, given what they already have on the roster. Is that fair?
For sure. I mean, with time, yeah, sure. If he got up to 270 plus or something like that, you know, I think you have to consider it. But he doesn't really give me his frame, you know, at 6'2", as Sean was saying earlier, you know, at 6'2", he's kind of, I'm not gonna say he's maxed out with his frame, but I don't, you know, we don't see him adding 2 more inches, right? And you know, growing substantially. So I expect him to be an edge. And even if he does pack on 10, 15, 20 pounds, like, man, he really moves well. And I think he'll be able to keep those movement skills. So should be an edge. I don't see much, I don't see anything changing with that, you know, in the near future. Maybe we're talking 2-3 years down the road, something changes with Penn State's defensive line, and, you know, they need someone to move inside, and he's packed on 20 pounds. Maybe we could talk about it then. But he should be coming off the edge, man. Just his movement skills, flexibility, all those kind of things. Jaylen's got pretty much everything you want there.
Yeah, and so there's a couple reasons I brought that up a couple times. Obviously, we're recording this and we're talking about this on the same day as we previewed it earlier, so this gets kind of hammered home, and that's not the intent here, but the way he plays at Quince Orchard, he's very good on the interior. So I could see the conversation about how big could he get? Do we want him at defensive tackle? Penn State has done that with a lot of defensive ends over the years. And I think it's really interesting. There's a comparison to a couple guys that are bigger on the Penn State defensive line right now, both Amin Vanover and Dennis-Sutton, of guys who are big, physical power players on the edge. And even though he's not the biggest guy at 6'2", I think he has that physicality and I think he's going to be a good run player. He's got early understanding of how to take on blocks, how to take on double teams, et cetera, from playing on the inside. We've seen that from Denai, and we've seen Amin be very physical and take over with the ability to kind of defeat blocks on the interior as well. So you talk about the USC defense and some of those struggles. And on the converse side, Penn State's defense playing so well and how versatile they are with their defensive ends. Having Chop Robinson play on an interior role, kind of have a highlight position for him with his unique skills. I'm not saying that he's exactly Chop Robinson, but physicality, explosiveness, strength, all of those things are a part of his game. So if you're talking about a player that has the ability to drop into coverage, and I think he has the athleticism to do that in this zone drop defense and to do some of the other things, it is a really good fit for Jaylen Harvey to play at Penn State on this defensive line with Manny Diaz.
You said it all perfectly. I don't know what else you need me to add there, but I just think it's a big. I mean, this is a massive commitment. A guy they really need to. I mean, Malachi should. I do really like their defensive ends. You know, you look at their defensive tackles. T.A. Cunningham hasn't played in a little while. Xavier Gilliam, kind of a flex guy. We'll see what goes there. You know, Liam Andrews, of course, is the one I think we expect to potentially maybe not produce early, but, you know, could maybe get on the field in a year or two. But having, I think, him and Malachi off the edges, man, really 2 solid defensive end commitments. We were talking on the podcast earlier today. I mean, I pointed Dylan Stewart, maybe Jacob Smith is the guys that kind of ranked up there in the top 5 of Deion's board at one point. And you know, Jaylen and Malachi were both very much in that top 5 kind of discussion. So I think Penn State's very happy here, man. If you would have looked at their board a year ago and you know, put all these guys down, you know, they're able to land 2 of their most important targets and 2 guys that we expect to get on the field here and produce down the road.
So what do you think of this defensive line class then? I hazard to say it's
Great.
complete at this point.
Yeah.
It's big like you expected, and you talked about this very early in the process that this was going to be a big class with a high number. So now that they've got all, presumably, of their players, unless somebody drops from the sky, what do you think?
I think Penn State fans have to be very happy. I mean, again, I always kind of stack up, okay, who did they get compared to who did they miss? And sure, there's always a couple guys. I know Benedict Ume will be somebody we talk about for a long time as a guy they probably missed out on that, in many other years, they probably kind of get those kind of kids. But, outside of that, there's really not too many misses here. I think T.A. Cunningham is incredibly intriguing just because he hasn't played a whole lot in recent years. But, man, I mean, remember, at one point he was one of the top 20 recruits in the country. This was very early on in the rankings, obviously. But he has all those physical tools that Penn State really covets, right? So, if they can get him to produce. I think DeAndre Cook, we got to watch him at the Under Armour camp. Film and some other things are limited, so I'm trying to learn more on his season right now. But Cook plays for a very good squad in high school. He should be coming in here, and he'll need a year or two, of course, like most of these guys will. But there's a lot of potential with this entire group, and then you add in two great edge rushers like Williams and Harvey. I think Deion Barnes should be very happy with his first year, as a full-time assistant coach and on the recruiting trail. So I know fans will always point to the guys, one or two that they missed, right? But
Right.
man, you look at the 6 guys they got. Yeah, like I said, their 2 DNs are very high on their board, and you got a Liam Andrews in there who was one of their most important prospects at any position in this class. And you have 2. You got Cunningham, who has all the potential in the world. And then you have Xavier Gilliam and DeAndre Cook, 2 guys who don't have the ratings like some of these other guys do. But, man, I can't wait to talk to James Franklin on signing day about him because I know the staff really loves those guys and loves what they bring.
Your versatility and potential. This 2024 class, to me, it's all about the potential because if you got T.A. Cunningham, and just to kind of broaden the scope from Jaylen Harvey and talk about this group as a whole, Malachi Williams, massive frame for his size, like lots of room to grow into a full-size defensive end. T.A. Cunningham, humongous dude. The defensive tackle that Penn State fans have been wanting Penn State to get for a very long time. Mm-hmm. You got the offensive linemen, 6'8", 6'7", 6'6". They're huge. So this group, even Peter Gonzalez being 6'2" as a receiver, kind of on the outside, is a big physical receiver. They got some frames in this class. And Jaylen Harvey, I like the balance he brings here, that he is a guy that has size already, that they're not looking for him to grow 25, 30 pounds. He comes in and he's going to be physically, as we've talked about, roughly what you're looking for. One last thing from me, and that is sign up right now for BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. 50% off your first year. You get inside access in recruiting. We're heading into National Signing Day in December. You're going to want to be a part of the conversation because the information you want is at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com on the 2024 and 2025 recruiting threads. If you don't know what those are, you'll learn very quickly when you sign up. If you're here watching this video, you love recruiting, it's totally worth your $50. You get a year's worth of entertainment for $50. There's no way you can do that anywhere else. I've played video games. They cost more than that, and after 40 hours, you're bored with them anyway. Sign up and get all the information, all the entertainment you want. Ryan, thank you so much for your time today.
No problem. Talk to you guys soon.
That does it for now. There are still things out there on the board. We will be back with more breaking news when it happens from Blue White Illustrated.